I'm Audrey Crawford, 32 years old. 2 months ago, on Thanksgiving night, in front of 30 relatives, my parents handed my sister a $13,000 cruise package and gave me a crumpled $2 lottery ticket with a mocking smile. "This is all that's appropriate for your situation, Audrey," my mother said, her voice carried across the dining room loud enough for everyone to hear. They laughed, all of them. They didn't know that little ticket would change everything. $100 million changes everything. But not in the way you might think. Before I tell you this story, if you find it compelling, please take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if you genuinely want to come along for this ride. And let me know where you're watching from, what time it is there. I always love knowing where my new friends are tuning in from around the world. Now let me take you back 2 months ago to Thanksgiving night. The night everything began to crumble. The Crawford family. Thanksgiving was always a production. Not in the warm Hallmark movie sense, more like a stage where everyone performed their assigned roles. I pulled into my parents' driveway at exactly 5 o'clock, carrying a homemade autumn salad and a bouquet of dahlia I'd grown myself. The flowers were deep burgundy, perfect for the season. I'd spent 3 months nurturing them. My mother opened the door before I could knock. "Oh, Audrey." Her eyes flicked to the bouquet, then away. "Still playing with plants, I see." Behind her, I heard squealing. Vivian had arrived. Mom rushed past me, arms outstretched. "There's my girl. Oh, that dress is stunning. Is it new?" I stood in the doorway, holding my flowers, watching my mother embrace my sister like she hadn't seen her in years. It had been 2 weeks. Inside, the house buzzed with relatives, aunts, uncles, cousins I barely recognized. Dad sat in his leather recliner, deep in conversation with Marcus, my brother-in-law. He didn't get up when I entered, just a nod, barely a glance. "Audrey, good. You're here," Dad said, not looking away from Marcus. "We need help setting the table." Of course, I was here to work. The living room formed a semicircle around Marcus as he described his latest real estate consulting deal. Everyone leaned in, captivated. I knew better. Marcus was slippery, but I had no proof, just instinct. Aunt Marlene caught my eye across the room. She gave me a small, sad smile. Later, as I arranged napkins alone in the dining room, my mother introduced me to a distant cousin. "This is Audrey, my younger daughter. She does gardening. I think something with plants. Landscape architecture. Mom, I design green spaces for corporate buildings." She waved her hand. "Same thing, dear." I kept folding napkins. Some battles aren't worth fighting, not yet. I was refilling the water pitcher when I heard them. The kitchen door was slightly ajar and voices drifted through. Mom, Dad, Vivian. They were speaking in that hushed, conspiratorial tone families use when they think no one's listening. "The cruise leaves December 15th. Mom was saying 2 weeks in the Caribbean. The whole family. You, Marcus, the kids, your father and me, even Grandma Grace if she's feeling well enough." My hand froze on the pitcher handle. "What about Audrey?" Vivian asked, not concerned. "Just acknowledging my existence." Silence. Then Dad cleared his throat. "She's busy with work. Besides, a trip like this is expensive. We don't want to burden her." They hadn't asked if I was busy. They hadn't asked if I could afford it. They'd simply decided I wasn't worth including. I pushed the door open. "I'm not invited." 3 faces turned. Mom's smile tightened. Dad suddenly became very interested in his coffee cup. "Sweetheart," Mom started, "this trip is to celebrate Marcus's promotion. It's really more of a family thing." I finished. "It's not about you, Audrey," Vivian said, her voice honeyed. "We just didn't think you'd be interested. You're always so independent." Independent? The word they used when they meant outsider. I was about to respond when I noticed movement behind me. Grandma Grace stood in the hallway, her frail hand gripping her walker. Her eyes met mine, sharp, knowing, filled with something I couldn't quite read. She reached out and squeezed my hand, said nothing, but in that silence, I felt seen. "Audrey, help your grandmother sit down," Mom instructed, already staring Grandma away. "She shouldn't be standing so long." Before she disappeared around the corner, Grandma Grace looked back at me. Her lips moved silently. "Call Thomas Smith this week." I didn't understand, but I would. Soon I would understand everything. The dining room fell silent when Dad stood up, tapping his wine glass with a fork. "Before we eat, I want to take a moment to thank everyone for being here." He smiled. The practiced smile of a man who'd spent his life selling used cars. "Family is everything." 30 people nodded in agreement. I counted 30 witnesses to what came next. This year, Patricia and I wanted to do something special for our daughters. He gestured grandly toward Vivian. Vivian, sweetheart, come here. Vivian glided forward, all grace and designer heels. Mom handed her a thick envelope, beaming. For you and Marcus and the kids, a 14-day Caribbean cruise, first class. The room erupted. Applause, gasps of delight. Vivian burst into tears. The pretty kind, the kind that photograph well. Oh my God, thank you. She threw her arms around both parents. This is too much, $13,000. I'd seen the itinerary on Mom's computer last month. I wasn't supposed to, but I had. Then Mom turned to me. The applause faded. The room grew quiet. Audrey, honey, come here. I walked forward on wooden legs. She pressed a thin envelope into my hands. Inside was a single slip of paper, a lottery ticket. Mega Millions, $2. This is what suits your situation, dear. Mom's smile didn't reach her eyes. Who knows? Maybe luck will find you. Someone snickered, then someone else. Marcus leaned back in his chair, smirking. Luck's a long shot when you don't have brains to back it up. Laughter rippled through the room. Vivian covered her mouth, giggling. Oh, that's so cute, Mom. Maybe she'll win $5. I stared at the ticket in my hand. My face burned, but somewhere deeper, something shifted, cracked. Broke free. I smiled. Thank you, Mom. I'm sure this will be exactly what I deserve. No one noticed the edge in my voice, but I did. The laughter was still echoing when a voice cut through. Gerald, Patricia, this is not right. Everyone turned. Grandma Grace stood at the edge of the room, her small frame trembling with the effort of standing without her walker. Her voice was thin, but it carried. You cannot treat Audrey this way. Not in front of everyone. Not ever. The silence that followed was different from before. Heavier, uncomfortable. No one had expected the family matriarch to speak. Dad's jaw tightened. Mother, please. I am not finished. But Mom was already moving, her heels clicking against the hardwood. She wrapped an arm around Grandma Grace with practiced efficiency. You're tired, Mom. Let me take you to lie down. Patricia, I'm not. The doctor said you need rest. Come on. I watched helpless as my mother guided my grandmother toward the guest room. Grandma Grace looked back at me over her shoulder. Our eyes met. She nodded once deliberately. Then her gaze shifted just slightly toward her old leather handbag sitting on the armchair by the window. The one she always carried. The one no one was ever allowed to touch. The door closed behind them. The room exhaled. Conversations resumed. The moment passed like it had never happened. But I saw Aunt Marlene watching me from across the room. Her face was pale. She looked like she wanted to say something, then thought better of it. I excused myself to the bathroom, locked the door, stared at my reflection. The lottery ticket was still crumpled in my fist. $2. That's what they thought I was worth. But Grandma had said something. Thomas Smith, a lawyer. Why would my grandmother, who had no lawsuits, no legal troubles, want me to call a lawyer? I didn't know yet. But something told me I was about to find out. It was nearly midnight when I started cleaning up alone as usual. Most guests had left. Vivian and Marcus had retreated to the living room to plan their cruise wardrobe. My parents were seeing off the last relatives. I was gathering dishes from Dad's study when I saw them. Papers scattered across his desk like he'd left in a hurry, bills with red overdue stamps, a letter from a collection agency, and beneath it all, a document that made my blood run cold, a loan agreement signed by my father, co-signed by Marcus Pierce, $180,000. The interest rate was predatory, the kind you only see from people who operate in shadows. My hands were shaking as I flipped to the next page. It was worse. Collateral documents for Grandma Grace's house. The house where she'd lived for 50 years. The house where my mother grew up. The house that was supposed to be Grandma's until she passed. There was her signature. Shaky, uneven, dated from 6 months ago. The same month she'd fallen and spent 2 weeks hospitalized, drugged up on pain medication. They'd made her sign when she wasn't herself. I pulled out my phone. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I photographed everything, page after page. I didn't know what I would do with these pictures. I didn't have a plan. But I understood something now. The favoritism wasn't about love. It wasn't about Vivian being the golden child. I was the threat. I was the one who might ask questions, who might notice things that didn't add up. They needed me small, silent, invisible. That's why I got a $2 lottery ticket. I slipped out the back door, photos saved, mind racing. For the first time in my life, I wasn't going to stay quiet. 1 week after Thanksgiving, I called Aunt Marlene. She picked up on the second ring. Audrey. Aunt Marlene, I need to ask you something. What is it, honey? Is Dad in serious debt? Silence. Long, heavy. You know something. Don't you? I pressed. How did you find out? I saw papers at the house. A loan agreement with Marcus. Audrey. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Don't talk about this on the phone. Why not? Because there are things you don't know yet about Marcus. About your father. My grip tightened on the phone. What things? Not here. Not like this. Meet me Saturday. The coffee shop on Elm Street. 2:00. Aunt Marlene, please. And Audrey? She hesitated. Don't trust anything Marcus tells you. He's not who he pretends to be. The line went dead. I sat in my apartment staring at the lottery ticket on my kitchen counter. I'd forgotten about it since Thanksgiving. It had been sitting there, crumpled and ignored, like me. Maybe it was time to check the numbers. I pulled up the Mega Illions app, entered the numbers, watched the little loading wheel spin. The first number matched, my heart skipped, the second number matched. I stopped breathing. Third, fourth, fifth, all six. I refreshed the app, same result. I went to the official website, same numbers, same result, $100 million. I didn't scream, I didn't cry, I just sat there perfectly still for what felt like hours. Then I did the first thing that came to mind. I Googled lottery winner what to do first. And then I remembered Grandma Grace's words. Thomas Smith. It was time to make that call. I didn't tell anyone, not a single soul. For 3 days, I walked through my life like a ghost wearing human skin. I went to work, answered emails, smiled at clients, all while carrying a secret worth 9 figures in my pocket. Every time my phone buzzed with a message from Mom or Vivian, I felt nothing. The number in my bank account once it cleared would be larger than anything they could imagine. But that wasn't what consumed me. It was the power, not over them, over myself. For 32 years, I'd been the invisible one, the afterthought, the gardener. Now I had options they couldn't take away. I didn't call my parents, I didn't call Vivian, I didn't post on social media or buy a sports car or do any of the things lottery winners are supposed to do. Instead, I called Thomas Smith. Miss Crawford. His voice was warm but professional. Your grandmother said you might reach out. She told me to call you. I don't know why. Perhaps you should come to my office. There are some matters we need to discuss about the lottery. A pause. You've won something. $100 million. Another pause. Longer this time. Then we definitely need to talk. But Miss Crawford, the matters your grandmother wanted me to discuss with you existed before any lottery. They're about her estate and her house. My stomach dropped. What about her house? It's better if I show you in person. Can you come tomorrow? Yes. And Miss Crawford, don't mention this call to anyone in your family. Not yet. I hung up, stared at my reflection in the dark phone screen. The lottery ticket had given me money. But Thomas Smith was about to give me something far more valuable. The truth. Thomas Smith's office smelled like old books and expensive leather. He was older than I'd expected, early 60s, with silver hair and kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. The kind of lawyer who still believed in doing things right. Please sit. He gestured to a chair across from his mahogany desk. I sat. What did my grandmother want you to tell me? He slid a folder across the desk. 10 years ago. Your grandmother established a trust fund in your name. A trust fund. $500,000. The room tilted. What? I never knew she wanted it that way. She was afraid. Afraid of what? Thomas's expression softened. Afraid your mother would find a way to take it from you. I opened the folder with trembling hands. Legal documents, bank statements, all of it real. There's more, he said gently. The house. Your grandmother's house. I saw the papers. My father cashed it in. He nodded. The deed was signed 6 months ago, the day after your grandmother was hospitalized. She was on heavy pain medication, barely coherent. I felt sick. That's fraud. Potentially. The signature is shaky. The timeline is suspicious, but proving coercion is difficult without witnesses. She didn't know what she was signing. I don't believe she did. He leaned forward. Ms. Crawford, your father owes Marcus Pierce $180,000. The house was collateral. If he defaults, Marcus gets the property. The pieces clicked into place. The favoritism, the exclusion, the $2 lottery ticket. I was never meant to find out. What can I do? With your resources now you have options. We can challenge the deed. We can pay off the debt and remove the lien. We can protect your grandmother. I looked at the trust fund documents. $500,000 from Grandma Grace. $100 million from a crumpled lottery ticket. Let's protect her. Okay, let me pause here for just a moment. I know what you're thinking. Audrey, what are you going to do? Are you going to get revenge? But this isn't a revenge story. This is a story about truth. If you want to find out what happens next, let me know in the comments. Have you ever been treated unfairly by your own family? Hit that like button if you're on my side. Now let me tell you what Aunt Marlene revealed. The coffee shop was nearly empty when Aunt Marlene arrived. She looked different than at Thanksgiving, older somehow, tired. She slid into the booth across from me, clutching her purse like a lifeline. Thank you for meeting me, I said. I should have said something years ago. Her voice was barely above a whisper. But Patricia, you know how she is. Tell me about Marcus. Marlene's hands trembled as she reached for her coffee. He's not a consultant. Not really. He lends money to desperate people with interest rates that would make a loan shark blush. I suspected something. There's more. She pulled out her phone, scrolling through her gallery. 2 months ago, at your parents' anniversary party, Marcus left his phone unlocked on the counter. I wasn't snooping. I was just looking for mine. She turned the screen toward me. Text messages between Marcus and someone named Diana. The words were explicit, romantic, and damning. Can't wait until this is over. Once the house deal closes, I'm out. What about Vivian? She served her purpose. Divorce papers are already drafted. I stared at the screen. He's cheating on her. For 8 months, Diana is his assistant. Marlene's eyes welled up. I wanted to tell Vivian, but I was scared. Marcus, he's not someone you cross. Does Vivian know? I don't think so. She's so wrapped up in being the perfect wife, the perfect daughter. She doesn't see what's right in front of her. I sat back processing. My sister wasn't my enemy. She was another victim. She just didn't know it yet. Thank you, Aunt Marlene. I reached across the table and squeezed her hand. You did the right thing. She wiped her eyes. I'm sorry I waited so long, Audrey. I'm so sorry. It's not too late, not yet. The nursing home smelled like antiseptic and fading flowers. Grandma Grace's room was small but sunny with windows overlooking a garden that desperately needed professional help. My professional help. She looked smaller than I remembered, frailer. But when I walked in, her eyes lit up with the same sharpness I'd always known. Audrey. She reached for my hand. You came? Of course I came. I pulled a chair close to her bed. Grandma, I talked to Thomas Smith. Her grip tightened. Good. He's a good man. Why didn't you tell me about the trust? Because your mother would have found a way to take it. Her voice was firm despite its weakness. You were the only one who never asked me for anything, never expected anything. That's how I knew you were the one who deserved it. Tears burned my eyes. Grandma and the house, she continued. They made me sign papers. I don't remember it clearly. Everything was foggy. I was in pain. I know, Thomas explained. We're going to fix it. She studied my face. There's something else, something you're not telling me. I hesitated. Then I told her about the lottery, the $100 million, the ticket her own daughter had given me as a joke. Grandma Grace laughed, actually laughed, a sound like rustling paper. Karma, she whispered. I always believed in karma. I'm going to buy back your house, I said. I'm going to make sure you can live there again, whatever it takes. Her hand found my cheek. I don't need you to take revenge on anyone, Audrey. I just need you to be free, to protect what matters. I will. Promise me something, anything. Don't become like them. Don't let the money change who you are. I kissed her forehead. I promise. Some promises are easy to make. This one I intended to keep. 2 weeks after Thanksgiving, the Crawford family gathered again. This time for a bomb voyage dinner before the big cruise. I was invited, not as a guest, as help. Audrey, can you arrange the centerpieces? You're good with plants. Audrey, the caterer needs direction. Handle that? Audrey, make sure Grandma Grace's nurse knows we'll be gone for 2 weeks. I did it all with a smile. Played my part. The quiet, beautiful daughter they expected. No one knew about the lawyers working overtime on my behalf. No one knew about the LLC I'd formed to claim my winnings anonymously. No one knew that in 3 weeks I'd be worth more than everyone in this room combined. The dinner was a parade of self-congratulation. Marcus held court, describing the cruise activities. Snorkeling in Barbados, fine dining at the captain's table, spa treatments for Vivian. Too bad you couldn't join us, Audrey, Vivian said, not sounding sorry at all. But someone needs to water Mom's orchids. I don't mind, I smiled. I hope you all have an amazing time. Dad clapped Marcus on the shoulder. This guy, best thing that ever happened to this family. Marcus caught my eye. His smile didn't reach his pupils. Cold, calculating, like he was assessing a business asset. Hey, Audrey. He leaned closer, voice dripping condescension. Buy any more lottery tickets? Maybe you'll win $5 next time. The table laughed. I let them. You never know, I said pleasantly. Luck has a way of surprising people. Mom raised her glass. To family, to fortune, to the Crawfords. Everyone drank. I raised my water glass and took a small sip. 12 days. In 12 days, they would be in the middle of the Caribbean, and I would be ready. The morning they left for the cruise, I stayed home. You're not coming to see us off? Mom had asked the night before, her voice carrying that familiar note of accusation disguised as disappointment. I have a client meeting. Big project, she'd sniffed. Always work with you. Always work. As if I had any other choice. As if they'd ever offered me anything else. I spent departure day in Thomas's office, finalizing the paperwork for my LLC. The money would clear within the week after taxes, roughly $62 million, more than enough for what I had planned. I was reviewing documents when my phone buzzed. Vivian, Audrey, something's wrong with Dad's credit card. It got declined at the port. Can you transfer $500? I'll pay you back. I stared at the message. The irony was almost too perfect. The first time in my entire life that Vivian had asked me for money. I knew why the card was declined. The debt was catching up. Marcus wasn't covering it like he'd promised. The house of cards was starting to wobble. I typed back, I don't have $500 to spare right now. Ask Marcus. He's the financial consultant. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Never mind. We figured it out. I didn't ask how. I didn't care. What mattered was that they were on that ship now. All of them. Mom, Dad, Vivian, Marcus, trapped in the middle of the ocean for the next 2 weeks. I turned back to Thomas. How soon can we file the challenge on the house deed? Monday. Once you're ready to make your move, I looked out his window at the city below. Somewhere out there, a cruise ship was sailing toward the Caribbean, and I was preparing my own kind of voyage. Day 3 of the cruise. I posted a single Instagram story. Just me standing in front of Grandma Grace's house. The house that was supposedly no longer hers. The caption was simple. Home renovation project starting soon. I knew Dad would see it. He checked social media obsessively. It was his only way of knowing what his daughters were really up to. The same day, the local news ran a story. Mega Aliens jackpot claimed. Winner remains anonymous. The ticket had been purchased at a convenience store 3 miles from the Crawford family home. I didn't plant that detail. The universe just has a sense of humor sometimes. Aunt Marlene, bless her heart, mentioned it in the family group chat. Did anyone hear about the lottery winner? Someone from our area won $100 million. They bought the ticket at that little Quick Mart on Henderson Avenue, the one where Mom had bought my $2 ticket. The chat exploded. Cousins speculating, Uncle Barry making jokes about retirement. Then a private message from Mom. Audrey, that lottery ticket I gave you for Thanksgiving? You still have it, right? I waited an hour before responding. Let her sweat. Yes, Mom. I still have it. Why? Just curious. No reason. That emoji. She never used emojis unless she was nervous. An hour later, my phone started buzzing. One call, then another, then another. Mom, Dad, Vivian, Marcus. I let them all go to voicemail. By evening, I had 43 missed calls. By midnight, 79. The messages ranged from casual, "Hey, sweetie, just checking in," to frantic, "Audrey, please call us back. This is urgent." I turned my phone face down on the nightstand. Tomorrow I would call them, but on my terms, and with an audience, 79 missed calls. I counted them twice to make sure. The voicemails were a masterclass in emotional manipulation. Mom, attempt 1. Audrey. Honey, it's Mom. Just wanted to hear your voice. Call me when you get a chance. Mom, attempt 7. Audrey, this is important. Please call back. Mom, attempt 15. I don't know why you are ignoring us. This isn't like you. Dad, attempt 3. Audrey, it's your father. We need to talk. Family business. Vivian, attempt 5. Audrey, seriously, what's going on? Mom is freaking out. And then Marcus, his voice smooth as ever. Audrey, I think we should discuss some investment opportunities. Family helping family, you know. Give me a call. I sat in my new apartment, a rental I'd secured the week before. Nothing fancy, just mine. and listened to every single message. Let their desperation wash over me like waves. They weren't worried about me, they were worried about the money. I texted Thomas Smith, "Is everything in place?" His reply, "Ready when you are." I opened the family group chat and typed a single message. "I'll video call tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Everyone needs to be present. There's something important I need to share." Within seconds, confirmations flooded in. "Mom, of course, sweetie. We'll all be there." "Dad, looking forward to it, kiddo. Vivian can't wait." Marcus sent a thumbs up emoji. They thought they'd won. They thought I was going to announce my lottery winnings, and then what? Hand them a check, ask for their guidance. They had no idea what was coming. I spent the rest of the afternoon preparing, organizing documents, rehearsing what I would say. This wasn't revenge. This was truth. And the truth, as they say, shall set you free. At exactly 8 o'clock, I clicked join call. Their faces filled my laptop screen, crowded together in what looked like the ship's lounge, tropical sunset visible through the windows behind them. "Audrey," Mom's voice was sugary sweet. "There's our girl. We miss you so much, honey. We really wish you were here with us," Dad added. The sincerity was almost convincing. Vivian waved from behind them. "Hi, sis, you look good. Have you been doing something different with your hair?" They'd never once commented on my hair. Marcus sat slightly apart, arms crossed, watching me with that calculating gaze. "Audrey, good to see you. Thank you all for making time," I said calmly. "I know you're busy enjoying your vacation." "Family comes first," Mom declared, always. Interesting choice of words. "So," Dad leaned forward, "we heard some interesting news, something about a lottery ticket." I didn't flinch. "Yes, I won." The silence was deafening. Then everyone spoke at once. "Oh my God, that's incredible. How much, Audrey?" "Congratulations." I let them exhaust themselves. When the chatter died down, I spoke again. $100 million. Mom's hand flew to her chest. Dad's mouth opened and closed like a fish. Vivian looked like she might faint. Marcus recovered first. "Audrey, that's life-changing money. You're going to need help managing that. Investments, tax strategies, asset protection?" "I have a lawyer," I interrupted. "Sure, but a family member who understands finance." "Marcus." My voice was steady. "Before we talk about money, there are some things this family needs to know." His smile flickered. "What kind of things?" "The truth." I shared my screen. "Let me show you." The first document appeared, the loan agreement with Marcus's signature, and everything changed. "This," I said, "is a loan agreement between my father and Marcus. $180,000 at 32% interest." Dad's face went white. "Where did you—" "And this," I continued, clicking to the next document, "is the deed to Grandma Grace's house. Signed over as collateral, dated the same week she was hospitalized, barely conscious from pain medication." Mom's mouth opened. No sound came out. "That signature is shaky, because Grandma didn't know what she was signing. My lawyer has medical records confirming she was heavily medicated. This could be considered fraud." "Audrey, this is family business," Dad started. "I'm not finished." I clicked again. This time, screenshots filled the screen. Text messages between Marcus and Diana. Explicit, unmistakable. "These are messages between Marcus and his assistant Diana. They've been seeing each other for 8 months. Vivian's face crumpled. "What? Once the house deal closes, I'm out," I read aloud. "She served her purpose. Divorce papers are already drafted. That's not." Marcus stood up, his chair scraping against the floor. "Those are fabricated." "She's lying." "Am I?" I looked directly at my sister. "Vivian," asked him. "Look at his face and ask him." Vivian turned to Marcus. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Marcus?" He didn't answer. He grabbed his phone and walked out of frame. Mom started crying.